Chapter 16, Chapter on Healing Illness. O noble goddess, at a time when incalculable and still more incalculable eons, extensive, inconceivable, and immeasurable, had passed, at that time, at that moment, the Tathagata, the Arhat, the fully enlightened one called Ratnashikan, perfect in wisdom and conduct, gone to bliss, knower of the world, charioteer of men to be tamed, peerless teacher of men and gods, arose in the world. O noble goddess, at that time and at that moment when Ratnashikan, the Tathagata, the Arhat, the fully enlightened one, passed into the state beyond suffering, when his teaching completely disappeared, and when there remained just a semblance of a teaching, there was a king called Suvarṇaprabhāsa, who was virtuous, and who ruled his kingdom according to the Dharma and not according to the non-Dharma. He was like a mother and father to the beings who lived in his realm. O noble goddess, at that time and at that moment there lived in the kingdom of King Suvarṇaprabhāsa a merchant called Jatimdara, a doctor and healer, an expert in the elements. He was well versed in the eightfold treatise on medical science, and, O noble goddess, and at that time and at that moment the merchant Jatimdara had a son called Jalavahana, handsome, attractive, blessed with an immaculately clear complexion, an expert in various treatises, a master of all treatises, learned in writing, numerology, palm reading, and astrology. O noble goddess, at that time and at that moment, hundreds of thousands of beings in the kingdom of Suvarṇaprabhāsa were afflicted with various diseases. They were oppressed by various diseases. They experienced pain that was unbearably sharp, severe, and violent. Then, O noble goddess, at that time and at that moment, Jalavahana, the merchant's son, developed a mind of great compassion for the hundreds of thousands of beings afflicted with and oppressed by various diseases. These numerous hundreds of thousands of beings are afflicted and oppressed by various diseases. They are experiencing unbearably sharp, severe, and violent sensations of suffering. My father, Jatimdara, a doctor and healer, an expert in the elements, well versed in the eightfold treatise on medical science, is old, in the waning phase, decrepit and dependent upon a walking stick. He is unable to go to the villages, cities, settlements, valleys, regions, and royal places. In order to completely free beings who are afflicted with and distressed by various diseases from numerous ailments, I shall approach and fully consult my father Jatimdara on how to become knowledgeable about the elements involved in illness. With this special knowledge, I shall go to villages, cities, settlements, valleys, regions, and royal places, and completely free hundreds and thousands of beings from their various sicknesses. Moreover, O noble goddess, at that time and at that moment, Jalavahana, the merchant's son, went to his father Jatimdara. He approached him and bowed at the feet of his father Jatimdara, folded his palms in reverence, and sat on one side. Remaining on one side, he questioned his father Jatimdara in these verses. How do the senses apprehend objects? How do the elements change? At what time do embodied beings receive elements that cause disease? How does the eating of food, timely or untimely, affect well-being? By what is the fire in the body not affected? How is medicine practiced in order to pacify illnesses that have risen from wind and from bile, from phlegm and from a compound of these? When does wind does bile, when does phlegm, harmful to beings, become active? Then the merchant Jatimdara revealed to his son Jalavahana the verses through which one gains mastery of the elements. See that 3 months are summer and 3 are autumn, 3 are winter and 3 are spring. Thus the succession of months forms 6 phases. 12 months are said to be 1 year. Note 3 and 3 are phases in brief. The monthly phase is shown in 2. When food and drink are thus taken and digested, the doctor, elements, and phases too are shown. The senses and elements in turn change in the various phases of the year. As the senses go through such changes, afflictions arise for embodied beings. In that case, a doctor must have knowledge of the 3-month fourfold division and the 6-phase grouping of 2 months. Food, drink, and medicine follow this sequence. In the summer arise illnesses from excess of wind. When autumn comes, bile disturbances occur. Likewise, disease from a compound appears in winter. In spring arise illnesses from excess of phlegm. Fatty, warm, salty, and sour are summer's tastes. Fatty, sweet, and cold are fall's. Sweet, fatty, and sour are tastes for winter. Coarse, warm, and bitter for spring. Excessive phlegm arises soon after eating. Excessive bile during digestion time. Excessive wind arises soon thereafter. This is how elemental changes occur. Heal wind in a person with rich, potent food. Remove bile by cleansing the bowels. For excess phlegm, dispense an emetic. When a compound occurs, thus give potent medicine possessed of 3 qualities. Know well in which phases excess wind, bile, phlegm, and a compound occur. According to elements, body and time, one thus gives medicine, food, and drink. Then the merchant's son, Jalavahana, having inquired about the elements, understood the 8 branches of medical science. O noble goddess, at that time and at that moment, Jalavahana, the merchant's son, went to all the villages, cities, towns, valleys, regions, and royal places in the land of King Suvarṇaprabhāsa. He comforted those numerous hundreds of thousands of beings afflicted with and distressed by various diseases, declaring, "I'm a doctor, I'm a doctor." Advertising himself in this way, he gave them relief and said, "I will completely free you from every affliction." O noble goddess, as soon as they heard such statements as these from Jalavahana, the merchant's son, those numerous hundreds of thousands of beings were overcome with unfathomable great joy. They received comfort and were endowed with inconceivable happiness, peace, and peace of mind. At that time and at that moment, those hundreds of thousands of beings afflicted with and distressed by various ailments were completely cured of their illnesses and became free of illness. After becoming free of illness, they became endowed with prowess, strength, and energy as before. Furthermore, at that time and at that moment, among the hundreds of thousands of beings afflicted with and distressed by various ailments, those who were acutely afflicted with severe illness approached Jalavahana, the merchant's son. Whatever medicine was prescribed by Jalavahana, the merchant's son, to the hundreds of thousands of beings afflicted with various illnesses and distressed by various diseases, cured the illnesses of all those beings. Cured of an illness, or with their suffering greatly reduced, they became endowed with prowess, strength, and energy as before. O noble goddess, at that time and at that moment, in the villages, cities, towns, valleys, regions, and royal palaces in the kingdom of King Suvarṇaprabhāsa, hundreds of thousands of beings afflicted with and distressed by various diseases were freed completely from their illnesses by Jalavahana, the merchant's son. This is the end of chapter 16.